be your professor slash presenter, Christina. So first of all, I want to ask a question. Does anyone want to share their favorite coat that they have with us? Okay.
I'm compelled to share that my grandma actually has a really cool quote that she gave me after she passed away. She worked for United Airlines for about 45 years. She even worked at O'Hare during the September 11th attacks, which was a really interesting story she told me, but it's a cool quote. She was ground crew, it's windbreaker, whatever. It's awesome. Yeah, practice.
Awesome. All right, keep that thought in your head, and after the presentation, I'll come back with another question. All right, so next. So cover up, guys. Today I'm presenting the purposes of coats and covering up my dog too because he was cold, so all covered up and ready for this presentation. All right, so next. So basically the purposes of coats is their status, fashion, and climate aspect. And overall, all coats basically cover your arms and torso area. However, a deviation for this, I chose basically they're crop top coats, so they only cover like half your torso. And also vests too as well, which we'll get to towards the end because they leave your arm exposed. All right. All right, so status of clothes. Okay, so this was not supposed to show the Old Navy. Okay, it's supposed to be another guessing game. But anyways, does everyone want to guess which one's more expensive?
The New York.
Yes. Yeah, so the Old Navy one, this was like actually only $47 compared to the NYC. This was actually like about 500, so big difference. And before I get into it, I want to share with you a fun little video.
You'll probably have to like exit out of full screen and go into it.
Oh, all right. So we're gonna go here. So I'm sure you guys all know Kanye West and the American Boys song. There's a quote in here I love that kind of represents coats a little bit in their status aspect after this lovely ad. All right. Oh, all right. Get this volume down. Is there any way to make it louder?
Put it like down here by the time.
Oh, all right. Oh, yes. All right, so let me put closed captions.
All my clothes designer, dress smart like a London blow. Before he speak, his Snoopy smoke. And you thought he was cute before. Look at this peacoat, tell me he's broke.
There we go. It was basically look at his peacoat, tell me he broke. So yeah, I just wanted to show you that. All right. All right, and back to presentation. Okay. No. Sorry, I'm lost.
Press the back arrow.
Oh, thank you. All right, so. Oh, all right. So basically, when we think about coats, and we'll get into a little bit of designer aspect here. So coats are easily replaceable, and with status, people tend to make things that are more expensive that can't be easily recreated, and that's like what you think of design brands, right? Because they can't just be easily like overthrown, kind of in a way, and they represent people. So if I were to come in like wearing Gucci or whatever, people would be like, man, like okay, she might have some money for that, right? Status. Alright. And here's just another example, Louis Vuitton Gucci right here. This is kind of ugly, not gonna lie, but if someone was wearing that, I'd be like, money. So, okay. Alright. Oh, and this is actually a really cool article. It was about fashion and coats in World War One. And basically women were shunned for dressing up in like fur coats and like just nice coats in general, while the men were often more fighting. Interesting concept. But anyways, so fur coats like back in the day were only like available to wealthy people because of this limited rarity and how expensive it was. And I have a little photo of me in a fur coat just representing. And basically same thing. As today is not really a problem for coats, you can kind of get that anywhere, but like years and years ago, it was not the case. All right, so a little bit of fashion aspect. So when we think of coats, we want to dress up nicely, right? and look our best. This is more like a jacket, but like I wanted to look kind of stylish today, fashion. And I have another video for you guys representing fashion aspect of coats. Like, let me exit out here. Alright. So this kind of just shows you different combination and outfit styles for our females. Let me just, okay. But yeah, just fashion aspect going on. Alright. Stylish. As you can see, coats can just dress you up in different ways, whether it's warm or cold out. And I did not forget the boys in here, so let me go back. Got one for you guys. So there we go. Same thing with men. I feel like peacoats are a really big one for men, definitely. But yeah, as you can see, you can really change your look and appearance depending on the coats you wear. Alright. Let me go back here. Oh. And I have another little quote here from Bottom Down. So basically, genres are like maps, and they change over time, basically. And that's exactly the case with coats, because when coats like first came existence, it was only for one reason: to combat the weather, basically. So like you don't freeze to death, basically. And so now over time, coats are like more than that. They're fashion, they're stylish aspect, they're everything, basically. And it's really cool. All right. So a little bit more about this. So climate aspect, pretty self-explanatory. It's to combat the climate. And I have some photos up here, kind of like the first coats that were kind of like, well, they're kind of like recreation because we don't really have first coats made. But this is kind of how they would look like, really simple, nothing fancy, nothing pretty, but really just to either like stay safe from the rain or just warmth from like the winter and coldness. And I have some over here. These are like our typical winter jackets now. As you can see, there's a big shift in difference between them. You can see with winter coats now, they kind of have more of like a fashion aspect to them as well. And to also like help with the coldness. And I just like put this older photo here. And these guys definitely are probably wearing more like, it looks like silkish. Probably Middle Eastern because it's like very hot out there, and silk is actually really good for hot climates. All right. So I have another example of you guys, just showing you off my winter coat. And honestly, it looks almost exactly the same as the photo I had up earlier. Really just to help with the snow and cold. I was in Breckenridge, Colorado, and it was 3 degrees out. I was wearing leggings like a dum-dum, and it was not a good time, but at least my arms and torsos were warm. All right. So, navigating genres. So basically, this is kind of what I was saying earlier. Since like, that's how I say this. So, climate comes around and go every single year, and it's a recurring theme, winter, right? So eventually, coats were made to essentially solve that problem. And that's just like genres. If something keeps reoccurring, a genre will occur to like essentially solve that problem, and it's a solution. All right. And I have some other just photos up here. These are actually like winter coats back in like the 30s and 40s and 50s. Of course, they're a little bit more stylish. But as you can see, they got the fur around their necks to keep them warm. And also over here, this is kind of like a full body one to combat winter. Oh, and as you can see earlier, richly furred princesses, like back in the day, it was like only rich people could afford the fur for like these coats. And we see that also pretty much these magazines. All right, and so deviations, I just put a few photos up here. So the common feature is that coats cover your arms and torsos. And these two are deviations because vest just covers like, I don't know, your chest area and not your arms, so it's exposed. And then we got the crop top shirts, coats, which I would say they're kind of like fashionable, but they also like, they don't have this common denominator of all coats. And they only cover like half your body. Okay, so my conclusion is basically throughout time, coats have changed from climate-based aspects to now they're like fashion, the status, representing. Over time, just like that quote, like maps, they change over time. And without coats, people would have most definitely perished without them because you'd probably get hypothermia, frostbite, whatever is coming your way. And I believe coats are versatile in their purposes and will continue to be so. And then let's see. Oh. And here's my works cited page. Oh yes, and so, back to Daniel, right?
Yeah.
So how would you describe your the coat your
My grandma.
grandma gave you? I was gonna say Anna. I knew it wasn't Anna.
I would say it's a windbreaker. It's blue. It's got like it's kind of like the motorcycle, like
Alright.
pullover things.
Would you say like what kind of purpose do you think it would fall under?
Oh, I mean, for
Or
me,
it could be like a mix of both too.
well,
As
for
opposed to
her,
like
I mean,
that.
it was a purely practical thing she wore to work. For
Alright,
me,
so
it's-
like a work uniform kind of thing.
yeah, but for me, it's like a sentimental value, so it's kind of changed.
Yeah, and coats definitely have sentimental values as well. Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, that's awesome. Does anyone else have a coat that kind of falls under these categories? I mean, obviously winter coat. Yeah. All right.
I mean, it's a big windbreaker. I'm not windbreaker. It's a big winter coat that I have.
There you go, climate. Well, that's awesome. Well, thank you, everyone.